Hello YouTube! Today I wanted to take a second and talk about something that's probably one of my favorite games right now, and it feels embarrassing and silly to say it, but it is a mobile game on my phone. Now, this is not sponsored, this is not an ad, this is nothing like this. This is just literally me wanting to talk about this game that's taking over my brain, and that is this. It is called, oh my lights are reflecting, Mr. Love Queen's Choice, which is a weirdly long name and doesn't do anything to explain what this game's actually about. So if you guys know me, something that I really love in basically any genre of games is romance. I love cheesy romance stuff, like so much. And it doesn't matter what the genre is, like things like from things like this that are a straight up romance dating sim type of game to things like Dragon Age and other like role-playing games where you can romance characters. Either way, I love stuff like that. And this one I downloaded, I think I saw someone on Twitter talking about it, that they were like, this is like a anime dating sim type of game, but it also has ASMR in it. And I was like, that's weird. So I guess I'll check it out. And I downloaded it just randomly and started playing it, and basically at the beginning, like the premise of this game, you are a young girl and you are in charge of a film studio, and you make like television shows and movies and stuff like that, which for me, because I also work with film stuff in real life, that was like, oh, that's interesting, that's fun. And some of it was kind of like relatable in that way about like creating content and filming and stuff like that. So I thought that was like a cool way to start it. And then you start getting introduced to all of the male characters who are the love interests. And the main show that your studio is known for is this show called Miracle Finder, which is basically like, it made me think of one of those like ancient aliens, conspiracy theory type of shows you would find in our world. But this show is like you're trying to find people that have superpowers, but it turns out that's actually real. There is people with superpowers in this universe, and all four of the main love interest characters have a superpower for each of them, or some kind of like power that they can use. They're not really superhero type of things, but they're, I think for me, it almost felt like My Hero Academia, where everyone has like a quirk type of power that may not be used in a superhero type of way, or you wouldn't think it could be, but then it can be. So like that's kind of the basic premise. You have this film studio. Also there's people with magical superpowers and 4 hot anime boys. So like that's fun. Also all of it's voice acted. The main character and some of the side characters are not voice acted, but like the main 4 like love interest characters are completely voice acted, which I think is very unique and very cool, because a lot of games, especially mobile games like this, don't have voice acting at all in any way. But it's a cool way to make it feel more involved with the story when you can actually like hear the characters speaking their lines. Okay, so far it just like sounds like a kind of normal game, you know, voice acted romance game, superpowers. But I just got so sucked into this story of this game. Like I was not expecting it to go as hard as it did on this story. It's like, it's so interesting, and that's why I'm making this video, is because I feel the need to talk about this story, to talk about these characters, because there's not really a fandom for it that I've been able to find. There is some people on Twitter that I've seen that play it, that like interact with the posts of the like the official account of the game. But I don't really see people talking about this game, and I want to talk about it so badly because it's giving me so many thoughts in my head. Basically, to go over the 4 main love interest characters, the first one you're introduced to is Lucien. Actually, I don't know if it's Lucien or Lucian. I say it as Lucien. That might not actually be right, I'm not sure. But him, he is a scientist guy. He's studying Evol, which is what they call the powers, is evolvers, or they call it Evol for short. He's studying that. His power is hard to explain, and you don't see it until much later on into the story. So I might not talk about it because it's kind of spoiler territory almost if you're gonna go play the game, which I want you to do. But he's got some strange powers that are hard to explain. I think next was Gavin. He's almost like close to the childhood friend type, but you weren't really friends. You just like, you went to school, like high school together, so you kind of know each other before the story takes place. And he was seen as kind of a delinquent type of person. But when you meet up with him again, he's working for the police, and he's like basically a superhero cop. His power is wind control, so he can like fly, but also he can make like tornadoes and control the wind and the air movements around people. Then there's Kiro. He is like a idol, almost K-pop type of person. He's like an idol boy, and his power, he can like make people really like him. So even before people knew there were superpowers, people would see Kiro and be like, he's got to have some kind of like the power to make people fall in love with him or something, that people would say as like a phrase, not actually meaning that he had that power, but it basically is that, not fall in love in the way like romantic love, but that you love this person, stuff like how people feel about like idols and stuff like that. The last one is Victor, and he is the head of LFG, which is the like head studio above your film studio. So he's kind of like your boss almost. And he's really mean at first. Victor is very like almost tsundere type. Not really, because that's like a different thing, but he's kind of like he's kind of rude to you, but actually he likes you type. And his power is time control, so he can like stop time, freeze time. I think he can also make time move very slowly, which is interesting, especially in like the story, like romantic moments when you're like, your character is like something romantic's happening, you're like, it feels like time slowed down when this is happening, when it actually could have been slowing down, because Victor might have just been slowing down the moment. So there's our 4 like love interest characters, and then the main character, which you can type in your own name, whatever you want them to be named. They're kind of generic looking. It's a girl with like shoulder length brown hair in a white dress. She's very like generic self-insert in the way like you can imagine yourself in her shoes, as most romance games try to do with their main characters. Oh, so the main like player character, your power that develops throughout the story is precognition. So you can see glimpses into the future. And sometimes it's good things, sometimes it's bad things, and you try a couple times throughout it to use this power to change the future, and it's not always sure if that's gonna work, but you try. And you start the game mostly focused on like your business and your film studio and working on films and stuff like that, but it almost very quickly develops into this like end of the world dramatic superhero situation where like the powers, and there's so much going on. The main way that the story works in this game is, so I'm totally caught up with the story right now. There's no more for me to read, which is frustrating because I want to keep reading it. But these ones with the hearts are stories, and then the ones with like the film things like that are things that you can do to collect items to level up your guys. Because when you film stuff, you use these, which is like, because it's a mobile game, it does have like the gotcha element that basically all mobile games have. But like this one is Gavin, and I have him and he's all leveled up and stuff. But that's what you use to make the films that you do. Like that's the gameplay aspect, is your film studio. And then you go through those so you can get to the story parts. I'm trying to find the best way to describe how intense this story gets without just giving everything away, because I want people to go play it and then talk to me about it. But there's just like, it's like goes not too fast. It's not fast in the way that's like, how did we get here? It does like develop in a nice way, but it's like, when I think about the beginning of the game, it's like, oh, that was such a simple time back then when the only worries were making our TV show. And now we're in like life or death situations all the time and like trying to save humanity. Currently there's 18 chapters of the story out. I've read all of them and they're really good. and I highly suggest picking up this game and trying it out. There's a lot of stuff with this like secret evil organization that's kind of pulling the strings from the background and controlling people's powers and trying to get more people to evolve to have these powers and affecting like the regular population who doesn't know about this kind of stuff. There's just so much fun in the story and so much that I want to talk about. So basically, I want you guys to go download this game and play it and talk to me about it, because I need some friends to talk to about this. I never really got into the ASMR aspect of the game, even though that was one of the things that made me download it in the first place, because I was just like, oh, that's weird. But I never got into that aspect of it. It's like a separate thing. So it's not part of the main story when you're playing through it. It's like a separate thing that you can get with the characters, and I never bothered with it. Anyways, I just wanted to make this short video to talk about this game that I like so much. Let me know if you download it. I will put my friend code in the description if you want to add me, because I can always use more friends on this game and always more people to talk to about it. If you guys would like to chat with me more about this game or anything else, I talk about it a lot on my Twitter, so the links to that's in my description. I can also be found on Instagram and TikTok, so be sure to check out my other social medias. Thanks for stopping by this video. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!